trip.
You wanted to.
Yep. There was no way in hell I wanted her out there. But now I don't know what would have been better.
What were you expecting?
I was expecting the lower cost of a lot of just your everyday living things and hoping that he would make things better for everybody in America, because that's what we need. Groceries are already outrageous, and then we put the tariffs on across the seas or whatever, like China, all that. It just makes everything more expensive for everybody.
Are Trump voters in South Dakota starting to regret their vote? I think some of them are, but I'm afraid most Trump voters do not regret their vote for Trump yet. I mean, even the first 130 days or whatever we're at now. I mean, most of his base is still behind him, and even some independents, or a good portion of independents, are behind him. I wouldn't say everything he's done has been terrible, but he's definitely leaning towards helping the rich and people like himself, and not so much working class people like me. If you supported Trump and you're starting to regret him, if you supported Trump and you're starting to regret it, go ahead and comment below. I'd love to hear from you in the comment section below. If you didn't support Trump, but you still want to comment, go ahead. So we have some people today. I have this video from CNN in South Dakota, who some of them are regretting their vote and some of them are staying strong with Trump. And let's take a look at a little more of this video.
Or whatever, like China, all that. It just makes everything more expensive for everybody.
Jamie Basinger is the only person we met in eastern South Dakota who openly questioned her own political views. Most people we talked to said it was risky to talk about politics here, even as the effects of Trump's tariffs loomed over the agricultural economy in an area that voted for him by about 70%. Generally, opinion...
Sorry to interrupt, but if you've never been to South Dakota is a pretty awesome state, especially the western part of the state. Where like the Badlands are, and what is it, Sturgis, Deadwood, all that stuff. It's a beautiful area of the country if you've never been. Just a side there to, check out South Dakota if you haven't been there.
Were divided between trust Trump's plan and how can you still like this guy. Wait, so Becky, let me ask one thing. Are you in a politically mixed marriage?
Yeah, did you see the Joe Biden sign? Would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Becky Hofer was not afraid to talk. She's a Democrat, and her husband is a conservative non-voter. She's a freight broker. Basically, if a company needs to ship bricks, she'll find you a flatbed truck. If you need to ship meat, she'll get you a refrigerated truck.
Ooh, you need the truck tomorrow? Can you guys, fork a pallet jack into the back of the trailer for him to pallet jack him to the front?
This gives her a window into real-time shifts in the economy.
Everybody's nervous. People are making different decisions for different reasons, but some of it's hesitation, some of it's actual price changes. Everybody just wants some stability right now.
And those shifts can be complex. She says China's retaliatory tariffs on American pork and beef could lead to higher prices on fruit.
Right now it's produce season in California. We need to get out to California. What goes out to California? Meat. We haul pork. We haul beef. Where does it go? It goes to Asia. If it doesn't go, the price produce is going to go up even that much more because they're going to have to pay more for the trucks.
As we've talked about, you're in a really conservative area, very pro-Trump area. Do you feel frustrated in trying to talk to your neighbors about what's going on?
Yeah, it's the biggest thing that frustrates me is that I just feel like nobody cares right now until it affects them. And I don't understand how they don't see that. They're not dumb. These people aren't dumb.
And that's the thing with Trump voters and conservatives in general. I think they don't care about anything until it affects them. Like a lot of these people, especially you see in the Venezuelan community who voted for Trump, and now some of their loved ones, one guy's wife is being deported, who's Venezuelan, because he took away their temporary protected status. Same thing he did with people from Venezuela, people from Cuba, people from, I can't remember where else, but, Latin American countries. And then he gave these white South Africans, Afrikaners they're called, they're like descendants of the Dutch who colonized South Africa back in the day, took all the land. But he's calling Trump's saying there's a genocide against these white South Africans in South Africa, which isn't true. So he gave like 50 of them asylum, 50 white South Africans. But all brown people, they're out. No brown people are allowed to come into the country. So Trump may or may not be racist, but the racists think he's racist. So, he does what is in the best interest for him, including with discrimination and racism. But if you remember the Central Park 5 back in the day, I'm old enough to remember. I even grew up in New York. I was still living there then with the Central Park 5. Donald Trump took out a whole ad in the paper, saying they should be killed for raping this woman in Central Park. And later on, like 10 or 20 years later, all the 5 kids, the 5 African American kids, were exonerated. Once they did DNA testing. This was before DNA testing was really popular, but once they finally did DNA testing, they were all exonerated, let out of prison, and they were all falsely accused. And the guy who did do it was eventually caught. But Donald Trump at the time took out a full ad in the paper saying they should all be, executed for raping this woman before they were even proven guilty. And then you go back to the 70s, him and his father discriminated against black families, in their real estate business. So people say Trump isn't racist. He has a Jewish daughter and all that stuff, or his daughter converted to Judaism. But like I said, he may not be racist, but he does racist things for his own benefit. But all the racists think that he's racist.
And they're not unkind people and selfish people and thoughtless people, so I don't understand why they're okay with it.
Hofer introduced us to her neighbor Rod Olerud, who was feeding cattle and who, for now, is okay with it.
I just think we need to let the president do what he's doing, and we need to just see what's going to happen here and give him a little latitude so that, if it doesn't work.
I read a funny statistic the other day, actually, and it's about, the loyalty of people in like a cult or with a dear leader like Trump. But it was about Hitler back during World War II. One of the huge camps with like 2,500 people, concentration camps in it, like 2,400 of the people in the camp, in the concentration camp, had voted for Adolf Hitler. So, that's how crazy people get with their loyalty to a leader that, especially in like this cult mentality like we're dealing with Trump.
Then we're going to have to try something different.
Okay. So you're willing to let the president try some stuff to see?
Yes, to see if this works. Let's give the president a chance, and we'll just have to go from there. Looks like a little boy.
Tommy Baruth thinks we already give it a chance. He's a retired soybean farmer who saw what happened in 2018 when Trump put tariffs on China.
The export market just went right down the tube because these countries could buy them from other places cheaper. Brazil and other countries were the ones that benefited from that.
That's the thing,
I
we
read
already
that it
gave
stayed
Trump
that
a
way.
chance.
That
This is his
now
second
China
term.
buys a lot more from Brazil.
And he screwed
Exactly.
up the tariffs
And a
the
lot
first
of times
time.
those markets don't come back.
Doug Bjerke runs a lawn mowing business. He says Trump's plan will work out in the long term, even if some crop prices fall.
Yeah, the price might come down, but when them people start starving, they're going to come back to the table.
You mean in the other countries?
Yeah, we're a gracious nation feeding the world, and we shouldn't have to without getting something for it.
Rick Ekman says in the 3 days after the tariffs, cattle futures dropped below the point of break even for his farm.
Never had him do this before.
Yeah, he really likes you.
Did you vote for Trump?
No. No, I did not.
Why not?
You want me to be truthful? I think to get to where he's at today, he's stepped on people, and he's got no morals, I don't think. I don't like the man. I don't like him.
Why do you think so many of your neighbors do support
I don't know. I guess I don't see anything good about him.
Does it affect the way you think about America?
It scares me.
Terry Nevelsick, a lifelong Republican and retired school superintendent, was very careful in how he talked about the political climate. He's concerned that Trump's push to dissolve the Department of Education will cut public school funds for needy kids, potentially at a time of economic turmoil.
If poverty is happening to adults, children are hurting. And where adults sometimes just have to work through it and make sure there's food on the table. During that time, we have children and adolescents who are forming who they're going to be. And I do think that the public school is a collecting point for people to be able to reach those kids and make sure that
the whole getting rid of the Department of Education is just, it's in Project 2025. It's clearly written out there that they basically want to get rid of the Department of, or they basically want to get rid of the Department of Education so they could teach religion in school, not any religion, of course, just one religion, Christianity, and they could, turn our country into a theocracy. That's the whole goal of getting rid of the Department of Education, so they could get this voucher program going. And then when people get vouchers, in other words, they get money to send their kids to any school they want instead of the local public school that's in their neighborhood. And the idea is they could all send their kids, they could take this public money and spend it on Christian Catholic schools and empower the Christian church. So that's what's going on with getting rid of the Department of Education. Anyway, guys, hope you liked this video. Subscribe to the Spin Cycle. Making videos once or twice a week now. Come back and watch my video next week. See you soon. Bye.